Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ball Watching. This episode is brought to you today by copious amounts of alcohol. Get yours today, you City fans. It has been a hell of a season. This was a bottle. This is all that's left after that U.S. Open Cup game here. But for those that are not listening live here, Justin, tell us where we're at here. We are now eliminated from the U.S. Open Cup, coming off successive defeats to Minnesota in unbeatable true City fashion. How you feeling, Justin?
That was insane, Jake. I was like, okay, I think we're going to do this one finally. And I was, and then before I could even think about it, well, I mean, we'll talk about it. I couldn't get over the in-game management and the subs. I have so many thoughts. But then I couldn't even catch my breath after like, oh, Anthony Marchand just scored. That's awesome. Now Jake and I are going to we're going to go live even later because this thing's going to go to like PKs or whatever the hell goes on in the US Open Cup. I don't even care enough. And I'm like trying to get my thoughts down on the goal. And I missed the second goal, typing notes about the first one.
Justin, let's trying to think where to start here because we got a lot to talk through today, right? We got this match, which we're gonna talk about first for you all. We'll layer in some insights from the weekend as well because I think we saw some similarities, some themes. We're also going to somehow manage to talk about the upcoming match as well, where frankly, I'm not sure who really is looking that far at this point, given what we just went through here. But again, for anyone that's just tuning in here now, St. Louis City SC has been eliminated in the round of 16 in the U.S. Open Cup at the hands of Minnesota, going down 1-0, going up 2-1, and losing 3-2 by 2 goals in a short amount of time from former City Anthony Marchand. You could not, Justin. I love all the jokes about when we get into new seasons for any sport, right? All the script writers are in the room like, ooh, this idea would bang. This would be crazy. This would be, they would never expect this. This comes straight out of the script writer's room. Maybe not how we lost, but who did it to us is just chef's kiss.
Jake, my favorite part about it too was on the broadcast, they didn't realize, you'd think these Apple guys, or I guess not, sorry, Paramount guys would do, maybe it's because they're Paramount, not Apple, would do a little bit more homework. They went straight to Anthony Marchand's brother, Nick, who's now playing in the second league in Italy or in Spain. They didn't mention anything about how Marchand is doing it, like the sword in the back or nothing. They're like, oh, this goal scorer, his brother plays in Spain. And it's like, where were you guys doing any research in this? But we knew the inside of this. And it stings because, God, you know what he did for us. And Anthony Marchand had a nice little stint at first, but then it just got kind of ugly for us. And he felt like he was getting diced, getting yellow cards, which he got again in this game. We'll just touch on. But that guy had to do it to us twice in games where we already talked about how poor our in-game management is towards the end. The announcers were mentioning it. They mentioned it at the beginning of the game, saying that we've only given up 1 goal in the first 30 minutes of our other 11 games in the MLS regular season, but we give up 11 of our goals in the last 20 minutes of games, and God, it just felt like an announcer's curse.
Those announcers were piss poor. I feel like they pulled them out of the stands 5 minutes before and said, hey, read off the sheet for occasional couple of facts and just give us the best you possibly can, guys. It's all we can find today. They might have just pulled some fans because there was none in the crowd for this match in Minnesota. But Justin, let's sizzle to start this off. We've got over 100 people joining us a couple minutes into the show already. Welcome all. If you are new to the show, welcome. Jake Justin here. This is Ball Watching. We do this maybe not on the live side right after the show, but we do these live shows, and we bring in some sizzle, Justin. So I'm going to give the people what they want to hear. Justin, it's not a softball, but I'll give you a couple seconds to think about it. What's the team do now? We've talked a lot this week. We've heard reports, and we reported on the reports from our sources to our best ability on what we were hearing from happening inside the club. Obviously, a lot of turmoil going on right now. And even if Olof wasn't fired before this, I think the turmoil is still very much going on, even despite this performance, maybe even more so now. And that seat just gets hotter and hotter, that throne that he sits on. Where do you sit with Olof at this point here, Justin?
Olaf's going to be gone. I don't know if at this point, I think you just do it. I don't really care that we have a game on Saturday. What are we saving the time for? I have some takes. I appreciate everything that you and Mike brought last episode. I personally don't know if this is the time that you also get rid of Lutz and Diego and completely clean house, because in my opinion, they're not the ones that are making the choices. And I'm seeing I'm more frustrated with the starting 11s and what we're doing in an in-game management perspective than I am on who's on the team. And I think who's on the team comes from Lutz, and that's pulling the strings. Everybody's like, we need to get everybody out of here. Yeah, I agree. We could probably spend a little bit more money. But let's think about what Lutz has done. And everybody's like, oh, get the Bundesliga 2 guys out of here. Hartel, toy shirt. Like, what do you like? I appreciate the team that we built. Yes, we've had some injuries, but I think that Olof, especially when he came in, he was looking to rock the boat a little bit. He was not going to be the guy that's like just going to play how we've always been playing. He was looking to create his own style because guess what, Jake? He doesn't really have a style. He had a playing style. He doesn't have a coaching style. And so I also kind of wish they would have vetted him a little bit more. Now looking back on it, it's like, all right, this new guy from Scandinavia, it seems like we always pull like a diamond out of the rough there. Yeah. But what's going like maybe we should just trust this guy? What's his track record when it comes to coaching?
Yeah. No, and that's a good thing to go back to here, Justin, because it's not all recency bias. I think at least I remember I had some reservations on his hiring. You know, he's not the most experienced coach. He's done some nice stuff in Scandinavia and was considered for the Swedish men's national team job as well, which is always good, you know, sort of company to be in. But track record, it's not like he was very accomplished. So, you know, it wasn't like he was the surest deal when I think about us getting on board and in bed with him. So, Justin, you gave me, tell me what you gave me there. Did you give me what you think is going to happen or what you think should happen?
I think what I think is going to happen and what I think should happen. I'm hoping, if anything, what should happen is for sure Olof out, and what's going to happen is Olof out. I really hope that they're not getting rid of Lutz and Diego at the same time because one, I think that you give Diego a little bit longer of a run. And then two, I think that Lutz that's going to be such a hard job to replace with a guy with so many connections that I appreciate that I still think that he's pulling the streams because I think that we have a team that's here for City that I appreciate. It's just the way that they've been playing it on the field and the way that we've made in-game management, which comes down to the manager, not the front office. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, it's good segregation of like the thought there too. So I for one think Olof should and will be fired this week, maybe effectively tomorrow. And I want to color my thought there a little bit. It's I do not think that this entire situation that we find ourselves in is on his back. I don't think that. I do think there are things though that he is not doing enough in, and I think those things maybe playing players out of their favorite or better positions, with the in-game management and the sense I hear him in press conferences, Justin, and I feel like what I'm hearing is just very cookie cutter. It's very I don't know how to describe it, but I'm not hearing a lot of responsibility personally, and I'm not seeing it translate to the field. He said he thought we had a really good chance of winning this game. I'm sorry. What have you seen this season that has made you believe that we have a good chance of winning this game? We got our asses handed to us on Saturday by the same team. We're away again. What makes you think that? It's just, to me, it kind of feels like the definition of insanity at this point with him. I'm not seeing anything to come home, hang my hat on, and believe in with this team right now. But I'll stop there with him. I do not think that it is fully his fault. I think it is definitely the players as well. The mentality. Look at that first half here, Justin, in Minnesota. It's disgusting. These guys don't look like they want to be there. They're not fighting out there. They're not going balls to the wall to turn this season around. Frankly, it's a little embarrassing as a fan of this team to not see that attitude. Like, I want to come out and make a difference in this. I also think Lutz is at fault. He's assembled this roster. He's the guy that's put the names into the slots and said, this is my guy. I want him to be here. So I think he carries some blame as well. And the buck stops somewhere, and that's probably Diego. So I want to just color that and all to say that I do not think this is all Olaf's fault. However, if you want to see a head roll and you want to see some immediate change, he is the first person on that totem pole to make that easy, quick, swift change. And I do not believe that it changes the season for us ultimately, but I do believe that it's probably the most feasible and the most likely decision as an outcome of this.
All right. So before we get, I promise we're gonna do a quick 1 minute recap of Saturday's game, and then we're really gonna get into tonight's, and then we'll even talk how much time we have about Colorado because I don't really care at this point. But Jake, I want to ask you a question. Okay, so we both agree Olof is number one on the chopping block. Who would you say is number two, number two and then number three? Like, if they only had to get rid of two, who would you want them to get rid of, and who do you think they'll get rid of?
Are you of the trio
of the trio of the boys?
Of the trio. I think it goes in that order, frankly. I think if you're talking about who is the closest to the field to me, Olof is the closest to the field besides the players, right? And you can't do anything right now. The players, it's not a transfer window. You can't do anything. You're locked in. You could play young guys, I guess. You could do that. Second up from Olof would be Lutz, and Lutz is a sporting director is a harder position to go out and find, especially mid-season. But you have just seen the end of the European season pretty much across the board. That'll be done this weekend for the most part. You could see some openings come up there, but again, I'm not looking to make wholesale changes yet, because I look at this game, Justin. I look at this season, and one of my biggest things is that this roster as a whole is just significantly underperforming. I look at our roster, even against a team like Minnesota. I said we should give this team a good match. We have some good players. We really do. They're not hitting the heights that they should be. No chance. I wouldn't put that on Lutz necessarily. I think where I would put some blame on Lutz is the depth of the team, where we've chosen to reinforce and where we haven't. Think about, wing backs like Totland, like Wallem, the guy's playing everything into the ground right now. Wallem, I'm referring to. Totland, we can't get healthy. Our center backs, we can't keep healthy. I'd also shift some blame to Olof as well. Maybe from a non-coaching perspective, what are you doing in training, man? We haven't seen this level of injuries hit the team for since our existence, right? So what's going on? Is there something different that you're doing that maybe other coaches aren't, that's letting them play with more of a healthy roster? So, I mean, if I had to, Justin, I would say Lutz is next, but I'd say that his seat is just very hot, contentious maybe right now. I do not think that they make a wholesale change and just oust both right now.
See, I don't know if it's a hot take, Jake, but I think Diego's next because, in my opinion, I kind of like what Spike has said here. He said Lutz can get us whatever talent ownership is willing to spend. And right now, if you think about even with our interview with Diego, and appreciate him doing that for us, he says that he's in the day-to-day operations of this club. And I feel like he's even more in that than Lutz is. I think Lutz is more looking around the globe. What changes can we make? Obviously, Lutz is watching the game and has some input when it comes to lineups and what we're doing throughout the week. But in my opinion, Jake, if I wanted heads to roll, what order I would appreciate it being in would be Olof, then Diego, and then Lutz. Because I do think that having Lutz's role as a sporting director is a harder job to fill than it is a GM.
Yeah, the only hesitation I have with that is I agree that Lutz has some great connections, and I think we've gotten access to some players that maybe we wouldn't have gotten access to had it not been from him specifically. I will also say that, again, I've had some reservations on his ability to build out our team to be fully competitive and depthy enough to be competitive. But with Diego, I mean, you and I have spent considerable amount of time talking about his experience. Lutz doesn't have that same experience in terms of depth. I know he's had some good experience in Germany and he's managed some top clubs, but it's not like he has seen the bottom of the barrel, the top of the barrel. He's been through it all. I feel like Diego has seen all of those different flavors of, football management, sport management. So talking to him, again, we're going to be biased. I'm going to be biased, at least in here, because I know you're calling for it. I am a little more hesitant as well because Lutz is all sporting, right? Diego is sporting and operations. So what he's doing on the upside, I don't think anyone has quarrels, right? But sporting is still part of your job description. If you're not performing there, you've got to be held accountable there as well. So again, I don't see the team doing anything to Diego in this time yet, but I do not think that he's just free of this either. So I want to just balance that.
No, I think that's fair. And I'm not calling for Diego, I would say, per se, but I would say I would appreciate rather him being next on chop block. But you did bring up a good point, if everybody remembers. If we're talking history and connections, Diego is coming from the City group, and that is not us. That is City overseas. So it is one that he has connection and has plenty of experience that he has dealt with as well. So it's not an easy decision, but I would say we both agree Olof is out on this one, and it's not going to be a hard decision for them. I want to give a quick shout out, Jake. We're pushing almost 300 people live in here. If you have been here with us the whole time, we love you. We thank you. If you have not, please hit that like, subscribe button right now. Get on here with us as we're trying to grow. And I am absolutely loving the comments are blowing up. I am loving the hot takes. I'm going to throw one in here just from our buddy, Chat City Tactics. Hello, boys. Nice weather we're having. It is. Yeah, Mike, it is. It's fantastic. And Mike, I want you to kind of help lead us off here, though. I feel like we all need a vent in the comments. Give us some hot takes and some hot questions. Let's use this episode to try to turn this a little bit. Let's see what the people have. And I would love to see what people are thinking here. And you can say, yeah, Olof, no longer a hot take. Olof out, not a hot take. What are some other questions or comments you guys want us to talk on? Let's use this during this. And then Jake, maybe should we do that 1 minute where we talk about Saturday's 3-0 loss, or are we even?
Yeah, let's do Saturday in 1 minute, the spicy minute. Saturday was worse than today. Saturday showed no life. It was awful. We conceded 3 brutal goals, all from ball watching, if you're looking at the name of the show right now. Poor defending, no hunger, no effort that we could, again, hang our hat on. We rested some guys, I think, ahead of this game, thinking we'd prioritize it. Starting Cedric Toyshed up top by himself. Justin, what has that ever done for us?
It's nothing, Jake. That's why I'm very confused, and that's what I'm talking about when I talk about the Olof side of things. Is the lineups that are going on prior to the game, and then the decisions that are being made in the game. And I understand everybody. We can talk about injuries, and we've kind of mentioned that for the last 10 games as we've mounted 3 points out of a possible 30, mind you, and those 3 points are not a win. We had 3 ties and 7 losses in our last 10 games, and somehow it's not all because of injuries. There are some choices that are being made prior to the game in the starting 11 and then also in game. Because right now, Jake, we're getting pretty close, or at least to I think Mike put it in his tweet today, 8 out of the 11 players that started probably are going to be normal starters, even when we're fully healthy. So we're kind of already back, but yet we're still seeing in-game management problems that I am just, it takes away my enjoyment of even trying to watch a game. I don't even care if we're losing. I still enjoy trying to watch this team play, but the in-game management just blows my mind.
Yeah, no, I fully agree, Justin. The in-game management, I do want to split down the middle and say I think part of that is Olof. I think also part of that is players. Like, Justin, you've been there. You've been in an edgy, really close game, really nervy. You got to just be bigger sometimes. You got to play smart. You've got to take the air out of the game. You got to step on the ball. You got to walk a little bit slower to go do your throw-in when it's in the offensive end. But I will also say, Olof, for me, you're not getting off on here. But like this, as much as injuries have hampered, and I've defended, I've said, injuries, it's hard to make a judgment call when he's been basically fighting with a hand behind his back the entirety of the season. However, you've got to make the most of your situation and the players you have. It's not like we have the school of the blind on the field and in our depth. We have some talented players and some players that are also very depthy that shouldn't see this amount of minutes, but you have to make the most of your situation, and he is not. Hold on, I'll make one more point. I'll let you talk. Sporting Kansas City. There is no chance you blow that game. You should never blow that game. We are a better team top to bottom roster build, even with that starting 11 that we had against theirs. And in this game, you go up 2-1, you miraculously find your way into it. You almost have to find a way to blow it the way that we are. And I think that comes down to both a combination of Olof and the players.
And sorry, you were talking about people not taking advantage of the time they've been given. Chat City Tashius is running out some trivia here for everybody. So for everybody that hasn't already commented and seen the answer to this, or if anybody listening that's later on, only one All-for City player has played 450 plus minutes this season and has a positive plus minus. Who is it? Plus minus being when you're on the field and the team scores a goal, that's a +1 for you if you're on the team, and we let up a goal, it's a -1 for you. Jake, you probably know the answer to this, but we've had a couple guesses in here. Some Kessler, some Klaus. I mean, this Dustin guy had to been kidding when he said Yarrow. And it ended up being, it is Joao Klaus. And I want to give a big shout out. I'll do this right now. I'm going to snip this afterwards to Kevin Burke and Ben Yeager. Listen to that stat and eat it.
That's awesome. No, dude, we've been Klaus stans. Obviously, so is Mike when he's joined the show. We have been Klaus propagandists for the entire first third of this season, and people have hated us for it in the beginning. But I think we got a lot of people to kind of come around as well and realize the value. And then he starts scoring, and people are like, holy, like this guy can actually do it. Like that goal, Justin, his goal today was picture perfect Joao Klaus goal. It's not rocket science. Good service, give Hartel some time. He'll put it in a perfect spot in that back post. No one else is winning that header but Joao Klaus, and he made it look easy.
And I'm going to be hand up because I was not a Joao Klaus guy. Even at the end of last season and the beginning of this one, when we had Mike on, Mike turned me around. So Mike is one with the stats, the guy that we always talk about, Chat City Tactics. If you don't follow him on Twitter. You guys talking about it flipped me on it because I was still in the same mindset of like, he needs to be a DP striker. We need at least 7+ goals out of him for it to be considered a win of a season for him. And honestly, yeah, we might get there for him. But looking at some of these other teams, it's like, and I've seen a lot of people saying like, sell Klaus, get him out of here. Let's get a DP that doesn't score goals. You guys need to take a breather and listen to that stat. The only City player that is plus or his plus minus is actually positive in 450 minutes played or more out of a game. So you're not just throwing on like a random, I was going to say JGR, but his is definitely negative at this point as well.
Yeah.
But you're throwing on a guy that's been consistent, a player for us in a starter. So, Jake, sorry, got derailed. Let's close out Saturday's game. What other comments you got?
I mean, I frankly, I don't have much. Like, it's disheartening because I just feel like the urgency is for me like the theme of what this team should be like on the pitch right now. Where things are dire. You are, and I'll go to my stat. I want to blow my stat because I will hit it for this match here. But you are not able to close out games that you're winning. You're not able to be resilient enough to come back and salvage points from games that you are losing. And when you're in these matches, my eyeball test is I don't see the drive. I don't see the urgency. I don't see the fight enough. I'm not saying that it's never there. I'm not saying it's every player either. I like, for example, Jess, I'm watching this game and I'm like, everything is just too slow. Whether we're closing down or marking attackers or we're trying to create space and behind, I don't see enough off the ball movement and I don't see enough drive and honestly just desire to go and right the ship, make an option for your teammate, do the small things, get back on defense, look over your shoulder in case someone's running by you into the space that you're defending, aka Kyle Hebert on one of these goals. It's just like it's so rudimentary for the mistakes that we're making. And to me, Justin, I just feel like we're on this sinking ship of sorts where the confidence is so low and it feels like if the slightest thing goes wrong in these games, heads drop, everyone's down, it's okay, what's going to happen next to us? And these games continue to give you more examples of that. Like, look at this game we're just coming off of, and I guess it's a good transition to this, Justin, unless you have thoughts you want to get on Saturday. It's just like we went up 2-1, Justin. Did any part of you start to tilt to, oh, maybe this season could be different for us? Because I sure as hell did not. I said, this is going to be tough for us to close out. I turned to my wife, Justin, turned to Maggie. I said, hey, it's the 70th minute. We've conceded a buttload of goals post the 70th minute across the season so far, and we have yet to get a point from a losing position in the season of 2025. Do you think it happens here? She didn't respond. She was on her phone scrolling Instagram. But in my head, I said, probably not.
I mean, I will say when we scored that goal, and I'm like, huh. When I texted you and I wanted to bet City to advance, I'm like, huh, maybe I might win some money on City for the first time this year. No, otherwise, no, I had no confidence. That was the only thing. I'm like, I have a little bit of a bright spot here. But then, like I said earlier, then Marcanic, I started typing late game management because on the wide open, sorry, I feel like I'm getting way ahead of it, but the game was wide open from the 80th minute on, and not in a good way for us. Obviously, when you're leading a game 2-1, the last thing you want to describe that time period is wide open, and it absolutely was.
Mm-hmm. Picture the pendulum, right? It's like in the middle, the game is calm, it's collected, the teams are doing what they're doing, they're kind of poking and prodding. And then on both sides, there's pressure because either one, you are sending the pressure, you're mounting the pressure, or on two, on the other side, the pressure is being mounted on you, maybe from a defensive perspective. We totally step on our own selves on both sides of that spectrum. We cannot handle pressure in games on either side, winning or losing. So I'll start with this stat, Justin. Let's break into the game here. Following tonight's fixture, we dropped another 3 points from a winning position in 2025. That makes 13 points dropped from winning positions in 16 games played in all competitions. Columbus, we obviously lost. We were winning in that game. LAFC, we were in that game as well. Seattle, Sporting KC, now Minnesota. And then on the flip side, Justin, again, the other side of the spectrum now, we continue our streak of gaining zero, no points from a losing position. Even though we surmounted the comeback, we made the comeback, but we still managed to lose.
Jake, so I would a fantastic stat because you know what that does? That brings the whole season thus far into one game. Because to your point, we have yet, I mean, coming into this game, we've scored only 1 or 2 goals from a losing position.
That's right.
Getting 0 points out of games. So we ended up getting 0 points out of this game. And then we ended up getting the lead and then blowing it, which we've done 5 times already again this season. So all encompassing into one big Olof. See you, big brother. Get back across the pond.
Man, yeah, and we'll talk. We'll get back to Olof. I'm going to get back to Olof as we talk through and hash through the show here, Justin. But let's get a little specific into what your and I's thoughts were on this match here. Obviously, aesthetically, disgusting. Like what was going on with the crowd in Minnesota? Like, isn't everyone supposed to be on the camera, like the broadcast side, like they were at Energizer Park? It was really weird. You had a comment here. I loved it. Looked like it was NBA during the bubble for COVID. It did. It was just like, what's going? Was everyone told not to sit where the camera shines? Not a good look. And you know what else is not a good look, Justin? Conceding in the first 10 minutes and conceding the way we did. I'll leave it to you to break down some of the details here, Justin, but I'll get 2 simple points across first. One, Minnesota made a big acquisition getting Julian Gressel a couple weeks ago, or maybe a month or 2 ago here from Inter Miami. He was a want-away there. They couldn't hold on to him longer term. So Minnesota grabs him. Julian Gressel, great wing back. One of the best crossers in MLS, and he does what he does best. And guess who is too slow to close him down? Us. We leave a guy like Julian Gressel under zero pressure, is able to pick out and pinpoint his cross, and it's to Yeboah, who gets the goal. Honestly, a pretty tidy finish from him, but Yaro on the marking, again, simple stuff. We're not asking Yaro to stick a foot out and block that or to clear it or to do. We are asking Yaro to do everything in his power to throw Yeboah off. He can't get a good flick on. He can't get a good, look at goal. He's off balance because Yaro's got a shoulder in his chest. Whatever it is, we're not asking for heroics. We're asking for simple and effective solutions on defense, and he can't get it to us.
Jake, there's 3 main points that I want to bring up to this, and it's the reasons why this goal was given up, and this is where I told you that I'm going to bring in a little bit of a surprise for you.
Shame.
Well, Game of Thrones reference, and I'm going to absolutely shame the guys that ruined this goal for me because it just set us off from the wrong foot. So 1, the back line in the mids. We'll talk about it again later on the second goal they scored. But for some reason, we still have yet to figure out that we cannot leave a 20-yard gap between what I would call our stoppers, the 2 guys in front of the back 5, in our back line, which is what we're doing. Because the first thing that starts this is a line-breaking pass to Zhang, who is sitting between those 2 lines, and he has 10 yards of space. If you pause it right when he gets it, I would welcome anybody that we don't have the replays up yet because we're going live. Go look back and watch these goals. That's the first thing that starts it. He's sitting between the 2 lines, and I think that's something that these teams are seeing, like in the film room. Like, watch, hey, look at where like Morales and Leuven are sitting compared to the back 3. Find that space and grab it. It's like the short corner when you're playing a zone in basketball. Find it, you find the hole, and you dish it back out wide, which is exactly what happened. He pushed it out wide, and the reason that then he had 0 time, or he had plenty of time, Gressel did, to whip that ball in, was the fact that Horn had his whole body facing Berkey, which essentially, as you're thinking about this from the 18-yard box in, he had his whole body facing inwards, and so he had to do a complete 180 to turn around and then go find Gressel, who, when he settles it, already has 15 yards of space wide open, and that's way too much for a dangerous player like that. And then lastly, I'm going to say Yaro on this one. If you go back and watch this, for whatever reason, he drops all the way to the PK spot when Yeboah is at the top of the 18. I just want to make a new rule for this team, Jake. If you hit the 18-yard spot, you stop hard and you find somebody and you grab their effing jersey and you hold on to that guy because, to your point, we don't need you to make the block, Yaro. We need you to just get a little nudge when he's trying to make that shot and throw him off balance. And you cannot do that if you're 7 yards away. That allows Yeboah to make a clean run, untouched. And I will give him this, Jake, a very, very well-finished ball. A little just perfect little touch into the far post and nothing Berkey can do.
Yeah, and I want to bring this comment. We talked about Yaro. You obviously did some good detail there, Justin. I think all very valid comments. So Drew in here. Drew, what's up, man? Been a while. Comment here. To be frank, Yaro did save us at least 2 to 3 goals tonight. And I want to bring this up because to me, this is also the story of Josh Yaro. Because Yaro, to me, is a bit of a pendulum player as well. He can show you some really good stuff. His recovery speed, his ability to put himself second and to put the team first and do whatever he possibly can to make a play. I know that he would give everything for his team, and his effort I have never once questioned. So I do want to highlight that for him. But pendulums swing. And to the other side, very, very error prone, can get himself in some really sticky, tough positions and try to make more when he should really be keeping things a little bit simpler. And I think you drew the line there perfectly, Justin. Again, we're not asking for you to become the best world-class defender in the world or even in the league here. We're just asking you to do the simple things right. And sometimes he does the spectacular and he does those right. but sometimes he does the simple things, and those he gets wrong, and it's just in some really hurtful positions for us.
My thought process here, Jake, is that I think Yarrow, with his size and speed, has been able to rely on his athleticism to make up for ground and mistakes that he has made. However, now when you're playing in the top league in the US, the MLS, you cannot catch up. When you let these guys, we've talked about it with like Denny Bouanga. If Yarrow, when he didn't have his hips turned, you're not going to be able to, and I would say in college, you'll catch almost every dude that you're trying to play against. Denny Bouanga, no chance. He is gone and dusted. And that's what's happening in these games. I think Yarrow, and I 100%, I'm going to agree with you on this. I think Josh Yarrow is an incredible person. And I think that he means and cares the most probably about anybody in that locker room. And he truly means that. And he's going to give 110%. However, if his 110% is a bad pass or something like that, it's just going to happen for somebody that has been more reliant on his athletic ability to catch, that is now catching up with him when he's playing against the top guys in the U.S.
Yeah, and the sample size, right? The sample size creeps up when you're having to rely on him game to game to game to game, 90 to 90 to 90 to 90. You're going to get those creeping into the game because he's not meant to see that amount of minutes in this league. So I want to say, yeah, that's obviously the first goal. And it was a little bit of an enigma for us, right? Because we've only given up one goal in the first 30 minutes. Those are excellent announcers were able to bring that set up here. One goal in the first 30 minutes of a game in the regular season for us. That became number 2, obviously not MLS play, but in the US Open Cup, early goals we had kind of washed our hands of, but we let one in here. My only other first half comment I'll say, Justin, is twofold. One, set pieces should be always an attacking outlet for any team, right? They're not, you don't need to do anything complex. You serve a good ball into a dangerous area and you go up with no regard for your body and you hope that you're hungrier than the defensive team. And for me, the service is part one. And the services from Hartel. And then I feel like he heard me because I feel like the services started to improve. But even before this match, it feels to me like they're practicing these lofted, sort of more gentle services into the box, maybe looking for a certain target man versus putting it into a dangerous area or the mixer. You might hear announcers say the mixer is just where crap happens, man. Like it's just where madness ensues. And I just feel like you've got to put pace on those. You're going to get them into dangerous areas and create and generate consistent threat from set pieces. And I don't think we've been up to that this season. I do think it improved. He whipped 2 into the near post right after I said that and wrote that down. So one thing I wanted to call there too. Also, Justin, is the game different if Toyshirt gets the call in the 28th minute on that, dude, that ball that he took down, the settle off the head into his own stride with the neck settled down to his foot off of his head. So 2 touches with the head in a row, gets in front of his man, takes the contact, goes down in the box. That to me, VARs in this game, probably a clear and obvious error. I'm not going to go play back and say, oh, we would have won that game if that happens. But that was a little bit bummer too. Like even when we get something going for us, we still can't get it.
Yeah, because Jake, if you remember, that defender was the one that was already on a yellow card.
Yeah.
So that would have been a red card as well. Regardless if we finished the PK, they're down a man for however many minutes. What was that? 28th minute. They'd be down a man for 60 plus. So that was a tough one because I really do think when I was watching that, I did appreciate on Paramount. I quickly just rewind and rewatch it, and you can do that on Apple too. But I liked that their setup was, and I went back and the defender was tugging his jersey and put a shoulder into him, which is what we've been looking for Josh Yarrow to do. And then it's just you're not going to get the call there, fine. But I thought it was pretty good by Toyshirt. I don't think he went down that easy. That's a guy that if he has a chance, he's going to put his laces through that ball. Especially at that point, he was already in the box, close to the K spot. So I agree with that. And that's kind of wrapping up the first half because, Jake, we have a hell of a second half to talk about. But
yeah,
halftime thoughts. Here's where I was. I said it seemed like we had been creating more shots than them because we did have 6 total shots. But then realizing that 0 of them were on net and then none of them were actually even close to going in. Like just because they were off net, we weren't hitting the side netting. We were just kind of like getting balls, and a lot of our shots were going even outside of where the 6-yard box would end. So I would also say the frustrating thing for me that I keep talking about, lack of marking and organization on our side was causing Minnesota to have wide open space. I don't care if it was counterattacks, holding the ball in our offensive third. We talked about it on the goal already with Horn not having his body turned around correctly, allowing Gressel to have 15 yards of space. The lack of organization and marking has been absolutely terrible. And you're going to get beat by these teams. And they're going to teach you a lesson when you leave them 15 yards. And then lastly, I'm like, hey, let's get Celio on this. We're down a little one. Let's spice things up a little bit. Why not? That man obviously got team of the match week on from last week's game or 2 weeks ago game. And then we don't see him. And you know who we do see at halftime, Jake? Akil Watts.
Your boy.
Down 1-0. And I'm going to bring on the guy. What do I think I have the stats here for it. The guy that has had 2 assists in 32 full 90s in his career as a City player. And we're down by a goal. I will never understand that move.
No, it's hard to comprehend. The only thing I can think about that, Justin, is probably a planned change given Horn's fitness situation, and you have Wallem out there still, so you just shift, and make that work. I don't think I noticed too terribly much, and frankly, he actually became a part of our 2 goals, so I'll give him a little bit of credit on that as well. But if I'm Olaf, I'm like, okay, well, my job's gone at the end of the first half. I'm going to the locker room and saying, what the hell, guys? Like, do you want me to get fired here? And so you're like, hey, as a team, maybe you come out, flying in the second half. Nope. Did not come out flying in the second half. But you know who did? Minnesota. They're all over it. They have 2 excellent opportunities in the first at the beginning of the second half.
For 4 minutes.
Yeah. Again, a couple minutes in the second half. Why? Because they wanted more. But you have Berkey in that, and Berkey makes those types of differences. Also, I thought it was an interesting selection decision here, Justin. Like, to me, any decision above all, Berkey playing over Lunt tells me that Olaf is playing this game for his job, because cup competitions, you'd expect Lunt to continue. Obviously, I kind of made that. I said that, right? I think he was going to get this competition to be his because he acquitted himself well in the time that he had between the sticks for City. But Berkey jumping straight into this, it's a must-win game. I think him starting, it made a difference too. So I think the cards fell, right? Like he did what he had to do to keep us in this match. And obviously was clearly trying to prove that in the opening couple minutes of the second half.
Yeah, I would say in the opening couple of minutes, we had the Gressel. I was going to say Gressley barely puts one wide when he was literally 1v1 with Berkey. And I think Berkey probably had the far post covered. It's hard to tell because they didn't show a replay, because guess what? 1 minute later, Berkey had to make a massive kick save, which if it was not going in, it was going to be easily tapped in on the back post. So he is one of those. And I agree with you, Jake. When we saw the starting 11, I'm like, damn, this is the best I've felt about a starting 11. And I'm not kidding, since Berkey went out. And that, because I do think that we had some injuries and things of that nature, but I was actually excited to watch this game. I'm like, wow, we are truly going for it. Not because we want the cup, but because Olaf wants to also keep his job. I was going to make a joke, and maybe it's already passed, but I'm going to make it anyways. When Olaf goes to the locker room, he's like, guys, do you not want me to have a job? Akil Watts raises his hand and says, I don't. Put me in, coach. And he does.
God. Oh, man. Yeah, the jokes write themselves after watching these matches. And frankly, I don't want to have jokes about our team, but we've got plenty, right? But hey, we did come back, right? We got the goal 10 minutes in. It was an early second half goal, and it came through courtesy of Cello Hartel on this goal. Toy Shirt, who I think really came to life in the second half. I've had my misgivings about him and talking about what he offers the team in possession and in build up, frankly, when we are not, 6 yards from the goal, where I think he kind of makes his money. He had a much better second half, creating some danger on the dribble, taking guys one-on-one. He played a whipped in ball over the head of everyone to basically cause some havoc. I think the goalkeeper parried that wide here, Justin, right? And then Baumgartel collects it, picks it up, swings it back into the mixer, keyword of the day, where chaos is ensuing. Hartel is circling back, kind of continuing his run from the inside, and he is able to bury this one. Gets good contact on it, enough to kind of nestle and make a tough, low ball for the goalie, not able to get down to. A poor, probably marking, if you want to be frank, with Minnesota. But again, all you got to do is take your big chances, be clinical in those moments. And you look at a guy like Hartel making the big bucks. You went out and got him. He's doing what he's paid to do.
Yeah, no, Jake, on this one, I think I would give all the props to Hartel, because if you watch this first ball that comes in from Toy Shirt, it was a decent ball and ends up getting parried wide. Hartel is literally inside of the goal, behind the goal line. And then he circles back around, doesn't give up on the play. He sees the ball, goes back out to Baumgartel, comes back on side. He could have easily been offside again, comes back on side, stands probably almost dead center of the goal at the 6, and just a perfect ball from Baumgartel. I was getting so excited. And then he finishes there. When you see the replay, that's almost like from Berkey's point of view, you literally have almost Hartel, JGR, and Wallem all just in a straight line, not being marked by anybody. So if that ball was whipped out even 3 yards further, closer to the PK spot, you got JGR who's putting it away. 3 yards further to the actual PK spot, you got Vollum. So I do think it was a little bit of a poor marking situation on their part. But that then brings us into 11 minutes later, the Klaus goal. And I'm going to give huge props to this one on Hartel, having the confidence again. I think he realizes this. Sung Bin was actually down there playing what seems to be right back. You go look him up. He's an attacker. He's a forward for them. So Hartel realizes, like, I'm going to put this guy on ice skates. He doesn't even make a move. I thought he did a couple step overs. He just does a little stutter step, and just this guy like almost falls over backwards. Quick little touch to the side. Hartel sees the second defender coming to try to give cover, whips it in back post where you say was the perfect spot. And this is what I love about Klaus. Klaus could easily just try to make an inside in front of the runner, or sorry, in front of the defender run. No, he loves that little like tug the defender, back post, off the back shoulder run. And he buries it with this one. I think it was maybe against the Sporting Kansas City game where he had a header that went down and then the bar. This one he puts into the back of the net before even bouncing, and I love to see him get that one.
I did too. And I'm happy for him. I'm happy for us. Again, we are the Klaus propagandists. And I will also color this as well. I don't think he's producing at the level that he should be as a DP. But for anyone that thinks he does not bring us value, that's where I draw the line. Because he does so much off the ball. He can connect play really well for us. In a game like this, he can just provide us a couple of moments of hold-up play when we need it to get out of our own zone and to progress up the field. And in these moments, when you find him in the box with good service, a la Hartel, you're able to get a really good chance at a great opportunity here. And he made no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, that was a no-doubter. The moment I saw that ball get over the first couple defenders, I'm like, Klaus is up on this one. No one's rising above him. He wants it. That's 2 goals in 2 games, U.S. Open Cup for him. I get, again, Union Omaha, lesser opposition, but he also only had a couple minutes in that game, made him pay, put the icing on the cake. And this one made him pay, put us up top. And we're up on the top of the scoreboard. And you're like, hey, life's good. Maybe we'll be able to take this momentum, close out the game, and maybe be able to right the ship in MLS play. But that's just too much.
No, so Jake, before we get into those last late game, just absolute antics that we've talked about, we've given up 10 plus 11 goals in the last 20 minutes game. I'm going to talk about the in-game management just very quickly. I've already mentioned it when we were down 1-0 at halftime. Minnesota actually makes 2 subs while they're actually winning the game, and we only make 1 by bringing on Akil Watts, who has 0 goals and 2 assists and 32 full 90s for the club. I just don't understand it at that point. When you're looking, you have Betcher, you have Silva, you have Celio, you have Ostrak, you have all these guys on the bench. Was Alm even on the bench for this? Like, all these other choices. And I understand your point. Like, all right, maybe it's a timing of Horn, then fine. But even then, I would try to move somebody else over and then back. Like, can you put somebody else that's going to be at a winging position besides Watts? Because I just don't see it. 64th minute, tied 1-1. Minnesota brings on the team's current leading assist leader in Pereira and their all-time leading scorer in Lod, which we just then remain silent. That's a game where it's 0-0. We're on it's 1-1, tied game on the road, and we're making no changes while the opposition is bringing on their current leading assist leader and their all-time leading scorer. I don't understand the in-game management and how we're like, yeah, you guys go do that. We're just going to hold on again. And then in the 66th, we're up 2-1, and we've just replaced 2 defenders for 2 very like-minded defenders as well, who are actually even a little bit more attack-minded, in my opinion. So when we bring on Zielinski, and who else did we bring on for that? Sorry, we took off Vollum for Zielinski, and then I brought it up here for the actual subs. Apologies. And then what is this? Oh, Zielinski. And then so the last one, Jake, that I want to talk about is that we also leave Durkin on with a yellow in the 66th minute. And I just think that's dangerous at this point. However, we do make up for it 11 minutes later. We bring in Betcher and Silva for Klaus and Durkin. And that was the one sub that I was like, do we need to be getting a more attack-minded? But the more I thought about it, Betcher for Klaus is for legs and to be a workhorse. And Silva for Durkin is also supposed to be a workhorse and just run down guys and get Durkin out of there with a yellow so we don't have a chance to go down a man. However, I don't think that either of them did what we needed them to do. I know Silva didn't, and I don't even remember if I have a highlight or a low light for Betcher.
No, I don't have anything for Betcher either. I agree with you. It's just questionable decision-making on when to manage certain moments and what the moment needs, right? Is it more attacking? Is it more legs? Is it more defense? I will also say the bench has gotten real thin. I'm not looking at the bench and becoming very enthused about who I see out there. God only knows where Henry Kessler is. I mean, he was in the picture a couple of days ago and just gone. I'm not even on the match day team here for this. Would have been nice to have him in the mix for this one. Or Nilsson, again, I just the injuries and what happens to this team when we're not watching them on MLS Season Pass or on Paramount Plus, wherever that might be. It's very questionable. Is someone breaking kneecaps out there if they misplay passes, because it looks like it from the injury report. I'm going to say, Justin, late game, you need to kill games. And again, it's not complex. It's not easy, but it's not complex either. It's be hungrier, win your aerial duels, play it safe, take some time. There's a little bit of, some conduct, right? There's a little bit of between the lines. The refs kind of have an understanding. You're taking a little bit of time off the game. You're not sprinting to go take your throw-ins. And I just feel like I'm watching our guys and it's just like they don't know what to do in these moments. And partially I can't fault them because it's not often that we're winning these games. But also these guys have played for their teams before. They've played in their leagues before. They've been probably taught in training. What we do when we're up is just like it's almost the most uncomfortable I see from us. It just looks like we don't know when to and when not to, right? And that's a really bland statement for it. Just I'm trying to explain that the mentality seems to go out the door for us. We just look really uncomfortable, really questioning our own decisions, and we look caught between two minds. It's like, do we keep playing like super hard and going for another goal, or do we kind of commit some more numbers back and sit back and let them come to us? And you see players make mistakes, and those mistakes obviously compound, and you end up conceding. And that's when you blow games like we have been. I mean, Mark Koenig makes us pay twice in two, what I would say, sequences were very, very preventable.
Yeah. I mean, Jake, I think the problem with that is that we don't have a mentality being up in games because we're rarely up in games. And I think it's like an oh shit moment. Like, wow, we're winning this game. We might actually have a chance. And it's like, I don't want to be the guy that messes up. So I'm going to boot it to the other guy or put them in a hospital ball. Or you got guys that are just like, well, I don't want to try to give somebody a hospital ball. So I'm going to try to dribble out of it, and then you lose the ball there. So I do want to take a quick comment. Fatbug24 is coming here. Silva did have the outlet run that set up Toy Shirt's wide open miss. I agree with that, and I'm going to talk about it right now because here's when we get into the late game segment. We get into the 85th minute. Ostrak is trying to be cute, and that's what we're talking about. He's trying to dribble out of our own defensive third, and he gives it away, not only from dribbling, but then he has a chance to clear it and does a half-ass clearance, goes off the defender, falls to their forward. Berkey has to make a great save, and then sends a beautiful side volley. I'm not kidding, probably 85 yards to a streaking Silva, who then one times it across the Toy Shirt. For the love of God, Jake, I was yelling. I yelled in this basement. I think I scared Danny when she was scrolling on her phone on Instagram. And I said, take a touch, because he had so much time. But I think he was scared. He didn't know where the defenders were. One times it wide. And that was so frustrating for me because that's nail in the coffin, baby.
Yeah, no, I would agree. It's like either you kill the game there, or frankly, Justin, I don't think we're above like doing our best to take every ball on the sides of the fields in both ends and just trying to kick them as far deep into the stadium as possible and just take time off the clock. Like we're not above that at this point because we can't kill the game in the game. Can you kill the game by managing the stuff like that, the soft stuff? And again, I'm not advocating for time wasting, but we have shown no composure, no ability to kill games either with the killer goals or by lockdown defense, like thou shall not pass. Neither one. So what are you left with there? Teams know that we are vulnerable. We're deer in headlights when you get to the final 20 minutes of a game. And unfortunately, in the final 5 minutes of the game, you concede twice to a former City player who is deemed surplus or not good enough or up to snuff of the standard. I'm not going to go revisionist history and say that Mark Koenig was a shining light, but they're making use of him in Minnesota, and Minnesota is above us in the standards. So in the standings. So it really hurts, Justin. I cannot imagine a worse player to score both those goals, celebrate like that, knock us out of this after we were up in a winning position in this match. Do you have any insights, Justin, on both Mark Koenig goals there?
Shame.
just a little bit of insight there, Jake, because I'm going to talk on this first one. The first one is big. It starts again with the back line of the mids not being more condensed. It all starts with a line breaking pass because Ostrak and Watts let the center, I think it's the center attacking mid, float behind them. Ostrak tries to get to him, but at that point it's too late. And then at that point, also the back line is 20 yards behind them. So leaving that gap is also hard because it's not like the back line is on the half line where they should be at that point. They are almost back on the other side of the D. And then I'm going to say, then on the back line specifically, after the ball is played, we still have a chance to stop this. However, Zielinski's body positioning here is lack of staying with the runner, and that's because he has to do another 180. He's facing the inside. The ball gets played, and he does he might even do a 360. I was so confused what he was doing, and he knew he was left in the dust there. But also, the reason that he was left in the dust, Jake, anybody who wants to go back and look at this, Zielinski was holding a higher line, which I think that's what we should have been doing. But then if you go back and you look at Yarrow and Hebert, they're sitting 5 yards deeper than he is, which is allowing Marcanic to then be a step or two behind Zielinski when the ball is played.
Yep.
Typically, he's offsides. However, because the other two are holding him on, when you should have a flat back line, easy offsides call, nope, easy slip in, goes down and finishes on a 1v1 with Berkey.
You know what I did love there, Justin? Strike of positivity here in the show. Zielinski in that moment, obviously very down. Frankly, yeah, I agree. Like the hips, swinging the hips, trying to change your positioning. Just let that ball hit you. Block it out. Do the simple thing. It's hard to fault him too, because again, I think he was doing the right things in terms of positioning, and his fellow defenders kind of not bailed him out, but did the opposite in that moment. Kind of put him in a bad spot, given Marcanic a lot more onsides territory. Tough moment, right? You know, the guy hasn't played all that much for City's first team in this season, and the jersey goes over the head after that goal. Obviously, he's devastated. Like, that's the equalizer. We've blown the lead. First person out there to him, Berkey. And the broadcast kind of cut it off, but I can tell you exactly what he said. And it was, let it go. Let's continue on. There's a lot more game to fight through. Don't worry about it in those moments. And again, I'm speculating a lot, but I saw Berkey hop off his line and run to Zielinski, and it wasn't to choke him out. If someone has an angle and they want to show me choking him out, that would be interesting to see too. But I don't think that's what it was. I think it was him trying to mentor, trying to lead this team, a thing that we've missed over the last couple of weeks. And you also begin to see other errors creep into the team here, Justin, with Silva, we talked about already. Some moments of brilliance, some moments of not so much, with a pretty lazy giveaway causing a 1v1 in on Berkey. Yarrow making a goal line heroic clearance. Again, the pendulum swings back to the heroics, and he makes a game-saving stop on the goal line, forces a corner. But guess what? The corner kick comes in. We choose to deploy zonal defense. People have their thoughts on zone versus man v man, or kind of like a hybrid in corner kicks. Justin, where do you sit on that? Because obviously we pay the price.
Dude, there's no way in professional soccer that you do a full zone. I appreciate if you want to do a partial zone where I would put a guy at the obviously like near post or up to the 6-yard box for anything that's so they can't just play in like a 2-footer. That makes it tough for Berkey to get down and make a save. And then maybe if you want to do some of your 3 biggest guys, just doing one in between the 6 and the PK, or at top of the 6 and then in there. But doing a full 11-man zone, I guess you call it 10 if you want Berkey to float, is absurd to me. If you watch this, we have inside of the PK spot, we have 10 of our players, including Berkey. Only Ostrak is hanging out at the top of the 18, which I think is the appropriate spot. But then we're allowing probably 5 or 6 Minnesota players just come crashing on us. And just without any kind of, what we talked about earlier in the episode, Jake, it's a recurring theme, without any kind of guy that can kind of run with them and get the nudge, even if they're going up for a header. At this point, these guys are getting free headers, and that's exactly what Anthony Marcanic has. You've seen Marcanic. He's got a build like me. I don't even know if he's 6'2". He probably weighs 170 pounds soaking wet, and somehow he's winning a head ball over Silva. And over Yarrow. Like, what is going on with these guys? Like, Hebert, get up in there and just knock him off so he can not just have a clean header from inside the 6.
Yeah. Again, it's small things. It's just this team to me is so close sometimes and so far away in others. This is one of those far away moments and so close moments. Honestly, it's like so far away because we continually miss on the small things, the easy things that are painful sometimes, but you do them because they make a difference in the margins, and the margins are points. And on in this, it's just like it's so remarkably frustrating, and to lose in that fashion, to give this up, a tournament that means everything in the world to this city, to these fans, and the spirit of that, it just felt all off. That first half was very forgettable. The second half was very memorable until you entered the final 10 minutes, where all of that goodwill that you had just mustered with the two goals there, showing a little bit of resilience, something you hadn't done all season, is surmount a losing position in this season, is all done away by a couple of poor mistakes, some misfortune here and there, and a team that frankly just wanted it more than you in the moment. And they didn't come with their full 11 either. Keep that in mind for anyone that's listening to this too. Minnesota wasn't like, we're going to go our full available best 11 to play St. Louis in this competition. They rotated. They didn't play their best player for most of this game, Pereira, who did us dirty on the weekend, probably was dreaming about playing us again. And he featured in the match, of course. But what's going on, guys? Like I just think that the roster we have available, even the guys that we have available, not even injured, we should be doing more with this. And I think that's the most damning piece of evidence that I can put on Olof and hang that at his doorstep is I get all of the holdbacks, all of the things that you've had to deal with so far, and I can sympathize with a lot of that. What I can't sympathize with is just not making the most of the hand that you're dealt and pinning it all on excuses and other things here and there. I don't see enough accountability. I don't see enough positivity in things that you, Justin, can talk about as saying, hey, the game sucked, but look at this guy. Look at this passage of play. Look at how he played for these 30 minutes. Look at how he forced this goalkeeper to work his ass off in goal tonight. There's none of that. There's nothing that I walk away from and saying, hey, it sucked, we lost, but I feel more positive now, or I feel more optimistic now, because I'd just be lying. There's not enough of that.
No, I would say, Jake, and I have a question for you. Do you think that I was talking to somebody else about this today? Do you think he's lost the locker room? So when we talked about this, because Carnell lost the locker room because, I mean, there was a couple of situations that he made, and I would say for people that were outgoing, incoming, playing, starting, subs, do you think that Olof but even before this game, do you think that it was more of a locker room issue, or like you could see it when Carnell was here, and it's kind of the same amount of games. I know Carnell had a season prior, but we're starting to push that, and we gave Carnell a little bit more time, but I think that he's absolutely lost the locker room. And like, if you're Celio, how are you, like, if you're like a guy that is just trying to get into a groove as a professional athlete, and you don't even know if you're going to play, much less be a consistent starter, I think he's absolutely lost the locker room.
To me, there's two sides of it. I like the question, and I obviously anything we say here is gonna be speculation. Like we don't know, I mean, obviously what's going on the inside there. But if I had to guess, for me, Carnell losing the locker room was they lost respect for him. Something happened. Multiple things happened. Players lost respect for him. He did not have the respect of the players. For Olof, I feel it's a little bit differently. I don't, and I've never really heard much about or murmurings of, people don't like him. The players don't like him. I don't think it's that. To me, it almost feels like a little bit of a respect thing. And I think respect is earned. If you put me in positions to succeed and we get this team winning, we get them gelling, we get this machine oiled up, and we get some wins under our belt, I believe in what you're saying. When we go to training, I'm gonna work my ass off because I know that what you're doing is best for this team. I believe in you and you believe in me, and this whole thing comes together and works. There's been no semblance of that this season. Outside of a preseason that we were all kind of humming on, it's like, what else is there, right? We haven't shown any marked improvements, especially coming off the end of last year under John Hackworth, that, again, you're willing to hang your head on and say, you know what, this has been better. So I think in the locker room, if anything, it's just like are we under the right direction of leadership? Am I playing where I think I should be playing? Do I fully believe that what he's telling me to do is the right thing to do? Because look at our table, look at the standings. It's not translating.
I think it's one that we're going to see a decision here very quickly, Jake. I don't think that there's anything else that we need to say. I like, because I wanted to ask the question because I really want to know, like, is it truly just results oriented, because I think you can have a coach that, I mean, we've seen it with Kansas City. They go down low, but I think the guys trust in him. I don't think any of these guys trust in Olof because they don't know him. They came in, they're probably like, all right, we'll try for the new guy. And we gave him a shot. And I think that's it. But Jake, oh, go ahead.
I'll make one more comment. Actually, two more. I'll make one in the game and one in this whole thing overall. Confidence is a hell of a drug. It's so hard to build confidence, and it's so easy to dismantle and disintegrate. And we had it in the beginning of the season, right? The clean sheets, the defense was rock solid. The attack could come along. Then we lost the defense. The attack still wasn't there. Now the attack's kind of getting there, but the defense sucks. And it's just like we can never have two things at once with this team. And I think that's again another factor at play here that I think just signals more and more that he's lost a little bit of the grip on this team and probably can be a factor in his dismissal. But we're at the hour mark here, Justin. We're going to talk about Colorado at least briefly here for anyone that cares about it. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention all of you live in the room. I respect the hell out of each and every one of you for tuning into that match to watch that whole thing, watch how it unfolded, watch how this team just fell apart in those pressure moments, and then tune into an hour show, all 700 of you, a whole supporters section, probably plus, in this live room right now, listening to us talk about it. This is why we care about it, because you care about it and because we deserve better. And we're not asking for a lot. We're asking for a team that's willing to go out there, roll up the sleeves, and fricking pound, man. Just go after teams and make it so hard to play against. That's all we're asking for. That doesn't require superstars. That requires guys that know the city they play for and they're proud of it. So shout out to you all. And again, if you're in here, obviously I gave a shout out to you all right now. Like the show, subscribe to the show on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts. You're listening to this offline or after our live recording, but I'd be remiss if I just didn't say I was proud of you all for being here and for doing this much St. Louis City content on your Wednesday night. Because God, it's been a hard year to be a fan.
It's been a tough year to be a fan. I cannot believe that we have this many people that are sticking with us, and I really appreciate it. And another group that I really appreciate, Jake, the Hoffman brothers. I think if you look at this week that has been hitting St. Louis, it's been absolutely insane. It gives me kind of the chills. If anybody hasn't had a chance, I know you're not supposed to be driving around and looking at everything, but God, Forest Park got absolutely devastated. You look at Clayton, and then you look at North City as well, and you've seen everything on the news. If you're on YouTube, you can see us right now. But Hoffman Brothers, it says, "If you need us, we're here." They truly mean that. These are people that we've talked about. I would say they are. I was going to say they're the Josh Yarrow but I don't want to say it in a soccer sense. But if Josh Yarrow, I could equate him to a company, that's them. This guy, and they care the most about St. Louis, and they're here to help. So I would say if you guys have any questions or you need home help either with these storms or upcoming, call Hoffman Brothers at 314-664-3011 or go visit them at hoffmanbros.com.
And I'm going to riff off Hoffman Brothers, obviously an excellent presenting partner for 2025. Justin, these city fans, everyone here in the room, everyone not listening or listening offline later on or on social media, if you need us, we're here. We try to toe the line. We try to bring balance. We try to bring in some hopium, but also be accountable when the team is not performing up to snuff as well. And I know this show has probably felt a lot about the latter, but we also layer in a lot of the former. And with that, Justin, let's talk about Colorado, because had we won this game, I think this week could have presented a big potential turning point, because I see Colorado. I see us. Obviously, we're going away, and I see opportunity. But let's talk about past with Colorado. We've had a little brush with them, obviously. 4 matches or 5 matches now played since we started in 2023. We drew them away to open up in 2023. Not our first game, but our first game against them. We then beat them 2-0 at home. We got drubbed 3-0 at home in the earlier part of last season, I believe in June. And then later on in the season, 4-1 away loss. So they've had our number pretty much so far until you get to this season, Justin, where our first game, our kickoff of 2025, God, how things have changed. We played against Colorado and we 0-0'd them. It was a defensive masterclass. I don't believe we allowed one shot on target. We got a clean sheet, which were basically endangered species for us the last 2 years. And we also put up 2.01 XG, which was the second most we put up this whole season now in hindsight. It was one of our better offensive performances, just couldn't get and find the back of the net. And for the large part, Justin, Colorado really hasn't found a strong footing this season either. So I was going to say this all to say that this is an opportunity. it's hard to paint too much positivity right now, given the state this team is in, but you have to stop the streak at some point. How do you feel about this?
Jake, I love the way you brought it into it, and I just fact checked it as well. We in this first game, we had 17 shots with 5 on target, 2 big chances. They had 2 total shots with 0 on target. It was an absolute insane game for us, and it's also sad that we didn't just pick up 3 points there. Now looking back on it, but Jake, I mean, I want to say I'm feeling good because guess what? There's a very good chance that we're going to also have that new coach bump, and I also think that new coach bump, when you talk about that with a team that is coming back and being healthy, guys are fired up, they're pissed off, and at this point, Jake, we're getting guys that are probably starting to play for their contracts. You're starting to look about that. They're starting to think about that for their individual futures as well. So I think this could be a nice little turnaround for us. Unfortunately, it's not going to get easier, but I think this is the game that we can go out to in Colorado and win. So looking at them in this season, they're in 2025. They're ninth in the West with 16 points, 4-5-4, win, loss, draw, 15 goals for, and 20 goals against. So they have a -5 goal differential, but they're still sitting. I think they actually moved up, Jacob. Are they actually still ninth in the West? They moved up to 7th. They're 7th in the West right now. So this is a team that they're technically in a regular playoff spot right now, not even on the wild card looking in. So what have they done this regular season? Some notable games. They had a 3-0 L versus Portland, a 2-0 dub versus Charlotte, a 3-2 dub over San Diego, and a 1-1 draw versus Seattle. Their most recent match was a 1-0 dub versus RSL. And RSL has been a team that kind of started off kind of hot and is starting to taper off a little bit, and they're down by us. They have 14 points. But like I said, this is a team that, as you look at this in some of these games, they've been beating the teams they should beat, and they've been losing against the teams that they are likely to lose against. I wish we were on the same side of that, but it's definitely a beatable team.
Yeah, right. I mean, so Chris Armas is the head coach for them, and if you remember how that match went, they are a very intense, high pressing team. They play with a lot of energy, quick transitions. They've been hampered by some injuries so far this season, not similar to us in terms of the depth of which the injuries have gone, but they definitely play a little bit of energy drink soccer. So you can look forward to seeing a little bit of that. Our ugly cousin when we come to town in Denver on Saturday. This team is, barring that last win, they were winless in their last 5, so only 1 win now in their last 5. And I look at their expected goals, Justin. And, people want to crap on XG, expected goals against. To me, it still feels like a decent indicator, especially at this point of the season when you've played, a host of matches now, or we're getting to the halfway point in the season. XG, expected goals, 27th in the MLS at 1.33. We're better than that. That tells you all you need to know about how that offense is humming. But at home, they are significantly better at 14. So just about average when you bring them into home from an expected goals perspective. Expected goals against, I step in my chair a little bit more because they're 28th in the MLS here. So yes, there are only 2 teams that are worse than them. We are worse than them. We are actually the expected goals against leaders so far in MLS this season. But they allow 1.77 expected goals against per game and 29th at home. So they're worse at home.
That's a little positive little stat there, Jake. And I would say also it's because they're going to be missing Zach Steffen, which is a huge one. I don't want to jump over, but when I was looking through this earlier and I'm looking at some of the injuries, Zach Steffen for them this season, he's only allowed 16 goals against in 11 games played, which seems like a lot. But if you really look at that, what is that, like less than 1 point? It's about 1.4 per game. Pretty solid in the MLS, and knowing that some of these games you're seeing the LA Galaxy get trounced 7-0. Zach Steffen only allowing 1.4 a game, pretty solid.
Yeah, and fortunately, Steffen not going to be between the pipes for this one, which I am excited about. But we're going a little bit different on this one, Justin, because we're assuming Olaf's gone. We're assuming a new coach takes the reins, probably an interim, especially for this game, probably John Hackworth, if we're being honest. How do you get at this team? I want to play problem solver. I don't want to just be the person that's always crying, issue. Let's talk about what we can do. Press resistance in this game. Again, we talked about their intensity on the press. You're going to need to play players that do not treat the ball like a grenade. They need to be comfortable in the ball, either fizzing passes out wide, out of pressure, or taking the ball, receiving under pressure, bodying off defenders, bodying off pressers, and being able to either turn or just play the simple pass away. Guys like maybe Tomas Ostrak come to mind for that, or even Leuven in this point. You're going to need possessors in this game in the midfield. The midfield is going to be a battle. And if you win that battle in midfield, I think you will do well in this match. Flanks. get wingers on the pitch if you're St. Louis City. Given their pressers and their ability to really focus and channel a lot of that centrally, get guys out wide, get guys, tell Celio, tell Silva, tell Alm, if anyone has seen him recently, to get some chalk on their boots and to run the channels, run the flanks, get behind, make them turn around and play that ball. If you're the Colorado defense. And finally, Justin, set pieces bit us in the ass in this game. You cannot allow or concede set piece goals. Make Colorado earn it. They have some big dudes. This Awazium guy in back, center back for them, is a huge aerial threat on set piece. They look for him. They target him. Make sure that if you're not going to win that header, at least he's not winning the header.
And that's not going to happen, Jake, if we go full zone on corner kicks. I'll promise you right now that man might have a hat trick on 3 corner kicks if we go full zone against him. But he's not the only guy I need to look out for, but I will start with him since we mentioned him. He's a 6'2", 28-year-old Nigerian center back. He's been playing a key figure for them in the back, and obviously we already talked about physical and his aerial presence. Kind of came out of nowhere, Jake. When I was looking up this guy, I'm like, all right, so last season he played 7 games for Cincy. What was he doing before that? He was loaned around Portugal. He started with Porto, and then he was loaned out in 2017 through 2024, just bouncing between clubs in Portugal. So seems like he's found a home and doing very well here, just having a physical presence in the MLS. And then obviously the guys you need to know the most about, Mihailovic. In 2024, he had 11 goals and 14 assists. Right now, he has 6 goals and 3 assists, and he's leading the team in minutes played. He's played all but 18 total minutes in their first 14 games. This guy is a workhorse, and he knows how to find the back of the net and help his teammates do it as well. And then also Cole Bassett, center midfielder. 2024, he also had 9 goals, 7 assists. Slow start this year in 2025 with just 1 goal and 2 assists. But yeah, I love what you put in here, Jake. He's a box-to-box guy. He'll get up and back, and you'll see him in the press, and you'll also see him in the counter press. And you'll also see him being the guy that plays the long ball out and then sprinting down the field to be able to get that pass back and try to rip a shot at the opposite 18. So I think this is a guy that we really need to track, because that makes me nervous when we talk about box-to-box, because we lose sight when it comes to tracking midfielders into our defensive third.
Yep. Those transitions seem to be a constant thorn on our side. But yeah, to me in this game, I want to make another key and add to my keys already. Mihailovic, you mentioned him. He's the game breaker in this team. He is the star of this team. If he is not playing up to his level, they're going to have a hard time getting results. So if you can body up Mihailovic, you can frustrate him, you can block his passing lanes, you can throw a shoulder in his back as the ball is about to get to him, throw him off. You've got to be mindful of Mihailovic. He's going to be right in the middle of the field at all times during this game, pulling the strings, manipulating guys, exploiting space, creating space for his fellow attackers. If you can shut Mihailovic down, you're going to have a good chance of result in this game. But just we mentioned, Stefan not going to be playing in this one. He's allowed 16 goals against in 11 games played this season. And Rafael Navarro, who is their striker of choice typically, had 15 goals, 5 assists in 2024, had pretty much a breakout year, I would say, for Colorado. On pace to do it again this year so far, but has been hindered through injury.
Yeah, and Jake, one thing I want to say too on Mihailovic, I mean, who do you think is going to be? We need to put someone in his pocket. We used to be able to do that with Blum. We talked about it a lot in the first season. Is it possibly going to be a Durkin? Like, this guy is only 5'10", 152.
Yeah.
I was that size in 7th grade.
Yep.
I know that he's a lot dirtier than I ever was, but can we just throw a body on him and do almost like a box in one? I don't know why I keep doing basketball analogies, but like someone to just put him in his pocket and make sure that this guy is not the goal scorer.
I like the idea from the defensive perspective. On the offensive perspective, Durkin doesn't give you as much, right? From the possession standpoint, right? Of progressing the ball, passing the ball, running with the ball. I think he's gotten better. I don't think he's exactly there yet, but if you can surround Durkin with a guy like Ostrak or Leuven, I feel better about that.
That's what I would say. And my opinion, Jake, on this one, and I was talking to somebody about it again today, and I'll talk to you more about it after the show. I don't think that Leuven's fit. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. I just don't think that he is mentally fit, and also physically. More physically is what I'm leaning towards more often than not. Like, saw him in the last game. I think it's going to take time. Yes, you can be practice fit, but it's just the same thing when you watch these guys. I'm going to make another random sport analogy. When you're watching golf, these guys are getting their whoops up to like a 140 on a putt. That means their heart rate. I think I think Leuven's feeling that. When you step onto the pitch, you can try to calm himself down. Completely different than playing 90 minutes in practice. When you go do that in a full game against an opponent, your heart rate's sitting at 150 the entire game, and I just don't think he's there yet. So I would tend to lean towards doing a Durkin and like a you're not going to do Morales. I do Ostrak in front of the back five.
Yeah. I mean, again, it just I also think this whole injury situation, you can say what you want about who is the cause of it, or if we're just hitting every unfortunate box so far this season. It's also shrouded in a lot of mystery. And I realize that teams don't owe us, right? Us the fans or media anything. They'll do it in the press, right? But in the press conferences, between the press conference and the game, there's usually either one day or no days for a home game. What's happening between that time? Because we're losing guys in the middle of all that. So, like you and I, Justin, can say, "Hey, here's our 11 for this match," but God only knows two of them might be on the OR table the next day. Like it's just unbelievable what's happening in the rehab room for these guys. You know what? When I put someone else in the hot seat, anyone that's involved in managing the fitness and health of City. It's ridiculous what's going on. And I can attribute some of that to unfortunate and it just piling up of some bad luck, but that only goes so far in my mind. Some of it's got to come down to holding some people like that accountable as well.
Jake, I think it's a big point to where we talked about it. And I think I think it was Twellman that tweeted it out. And he was like, yeah, I heard they play 11v11 the day before a match. I'm tired of hearing about these, like, oh, they got a knock in practice. And that knock in practice does not happen on Tuesday when we have a Saturday game. It's happening on Friday. And I just don't understand it. I was joking around with a couple people. Like, once we saw Zelensky a week or two ago on the actual injury report, we're like, yeah, I think he just stepped off a curb and rolled his ankle. Because at this point, I don't know what these guys are doing. We got to just wrap them up in bubble wrap. But, yeah. Jake, this will bring us a perfect little segue into who do you think is going to start for us? So I'm going to bring us into the Hoffman Brothers presented starting 11. Dude, I'm not even getting words like in the same sentence. We're an hour and 15 minutes in. I'm sweating down here. I definitely had a couple drinks, but Jesus, I don't even know where to go with this 11. I mean, now it's a little bit easier when we have some more subs we can play with, but it's still going to be tough.
Let's start from the top then, Justin, because I think the top, everyone that started this game should start again. And I realize that may not happen because of fitness, but again, what if Olof somehow has some plot armor and goes in this next game? I can't wait till the press conference because he'll say, every game from here on out's a must win, just like he's been saying for the last 3 weeks. I think you got to go back to who else are you going to play? Maybe you make a change. I'm thinking the top, Justin, like the trio. It's, Klaus, Hartel, Toyshirt. And Toyshirt put everything on the line that second half, played a ton of minutes. Maybe he's the guy to take a seat and let someone else jump in for him. Hartel played a lot of minutes as well. So did Klaus, but I think Klaus got rested in the last match prior. So what would you do in the top three there, Justin?
All right, when you said, like, I think everybody that started this game start again, I thought you meant the full 11. I didn't.
Oh, no.
The top triangle. I could probably go with the top triangle. I'm still a little confused with Celio, kind of what's going on there, and I would like to see him up there because I don't think you drop him any further back. I don't think he's a liability on defense, but I don't think that's his strong suit. So that would be the only one if you're gonna pull Toyshirt. I think it's Celio's time. Ultimately, we really did love the Betcher. I mean, I'm doing this for Klaus and Nico.
Yeah.
I think Betcher and Klaus had that connection for a while, and I think they still do off the field. But I would like to see Celio get back out here because you're getting man of the match week or team of the match day, whatever you want to call it, whatever MLS, stupid little awards. But he did a fantastic job in that game, and I would like to see him actually get rewarded for it and get some more minutes.
I am all about it. Justin, I'm making some tweaks to what I think could come into this one here, but I'll go back to I think I might officially take Toyshirt out and I want to put Celio in because we made the comment about the flanks. Part of the flanks will come from the attack. Most of it will come from the wing backs. So let's shift back. I'm playing Klaus, Celio, Hartel as my front three right now. The next four, so the midfield four that also include the wing backs. I'm going back to Wallem at left wing back again. I feel bad for him sometimes because we're throwing him everywhere on the field we can possibly put him just due to the own injuries. But I'm going to return him to left wing back. I want to put Durkin next to him, Ostrak next to him, because I'm assuming Leuven's not touching the field here. I'm assuming Morales isn't back for this one either. So I'm not assuming we get any bump from any guys that weren't available in this match. I wasn't necessarily that impressed with JGR. I still think he's coming into his own. I'm not going to write him off yet, but I also don't think he needs or deserves to start here. I would go back to Zelensky and say, hey, rub some grass on it. You're young. These things are going to happen. Go out there, give us a match, run that right flank like it's your job, like it's the last thing you do, and put that match behind you.
I would agree with that, Jake. I agree with Vollum, Durkin, Ostrak. And then you get over to the right back. I would love to see Zelensky again because I think that's the worst thing for the mentality of a player is you give up, you get that chance, you give it up, and you go right back to the bench. Like,
Yep.
what are you supposed to do? That's like when you're playing, like, I'm gonna give another analogy. High school basketball. You go in there and you make a dumb shot and you miss it, coach pulls you right back out, and you've been out there for 30 seconds. You're like, God, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to get momentum? So I would love to see Zelensky there. However, I have a feeling they're gonna go back to Watts.
The back three is really difficult here, Justin, just because, like, again, this feels like the most fluid of any situation because we thought Kessler would be available, if not starting in this match in Minnesota for the Open Cup. Didn't even make the bench. Don't know what's going on with him. Just because of that, Justin, I can't put him in because of that. If he's available, got to be in the game. Got to be starting from minute one, in my opinion. I think next to him on the left, I would go back to Horn. I know Horn likes dilly-dallying up at left wing back. He's not a left wing back to me. He's just not. So I'd go back to him at left center back because if Horn shifts back to left center back, that means there's one less of Kyle Hebert or Josh Yarrow in the center backs. And again, it's no shot to them, but Horn is an upgrade at that position. So what's left, right? You have Baumgartel, who seems to be getting all these minutes because, again, there's no one that's healthy in front of him. But if you're thinking about depth chart, I would put Hebert and Yarrow below Horn. I put Baumgartel probably right around the Horn category right now. And then if Kessler's available, obviously you play him. If Nilsson wasn't made of glass, obviously you'd play him. But I'm expecting neither in this game. So I'd probably go Horn, Baumgartel, and then whoever you want to start out on the right, or Baumgartel on the right, and you go back to one of Hebert or Yarrow in the middle, assuming, again, no return to fitness.
No, so I would say, I mean, ideally, it would be Horn, Kessler, Baumgartel, or somewhere in those trio. I don't
Yep.
know which way you want to move them
Yep.
around, but I think Horn on the left, Baumgartel on the right with Kessler in middle is ideal right now
Yep.
without Nilsson. I have a feeling, health wise, it'll be Horn, Baumgartel, and then in my opinion, Jake, I think you just got to play Kyle Hebert because I've just seen too many mistakes from Josh Yarrow. I do appreciate his efforts and everything that he has done, but we're deciding between the lesser of two evils here right now. And I don't think I had a lot of mistakes, or I didn't have highlights or lowlights out of Hebert on this last game tonight. And so, in my opinion, I think you just go with what I would call the hot hand or the hotter hand, which at this point is like a lukewarm bath. But I will take it.
Yeah. That's the thing about Kyle Hebert, and give him his props. Like, he plays within himself, right? He makes the simple plays. He doesn't try to do too much. And that can be limiting at times and also very safe at other times. And I think in this game, where you're just looking for someone to complement, the other players next to you and just be a rock in the back, I think he can make for a good rock. So I mean to give him kudos in that. It might sound like a backhand compliment, but I really do mean that positively.
No, and I think this is a guy that we also know is someone that cares the most about this team. I would say it's literally 1A is Mr. Yarrow, 1B is Mr. Hebert. But I would say on this one, the hard part, Jake, is that the fact that the other team knows that he is looking to make the simple play and they play off of that. That's what makes it tough for us.
Yep.
But if he can do his defensive job, I don't give a crap because we have what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dudes in front of those three that need to be doing the offensive side. So I don't need Hebert getting into the box and making runs from the 18 to 18. Just make sure the guys are getting slipped in behind you.
So let's keep it simple here. Justin, goals and predictions for the game. My goals just get simpler and simpler as the season goes on because we get further and further away from where we need to be. My goal for this game is to somehow be able to untether yourselves from I'm sure the dross and the downness of the locker room and the plane ride home tonight for Minnesota or tomorrow, whenever that is, and go play free, go play, fun, flowing soccer. Give us something to be proud about. And again, that's not beating the brakes off of Colorado, which, by the way, I think we could do. But let's go out, make a proud performance. Give me a proud full 90 of it's not a bunch of ups and downs, mountains and valleys. It's something consistent, has a consistent heartbeat. Yeah, there's a couple deviations here and there, but something that we can finish the game, learn something from positively, and be able to take into the next match. Because right now, it doesn't feel like that. So my prediction, I'm actually going to go ahead and say 2-1 victory. And that is out of nowhere. And I'm probably just feeling the effects of the Pinot Noir at this point. It's going to happen, right? But 2-1, man. I'm gonna manifest it. I think we're gonna go to Colorado and somehow against all odds, give them a little slapping up. And if we get the new coach bomb, make it 4-2.
Dude, this is for anybody that doesn't know. So Jake and I are obviously using like a Google Doc, and we used to like type back and forth. We usually fill these out ahead of time. Obviously, with this game, we didn't get to the bottom to fill out our goals for the game and the actual score predictions. My prediction is also 2-1, Jake. And my goal for the game, though, is slightly different. And it's just don't let Mihalovic score a goal. Because if you think about it this way, Mihalovic and Navarro have 11 of their goals. That is 6 for Mihalovic and 5 for Navarro. Then you look at this, they have 2, 3, 4, 5 other goals total on the season amongst the other guys. So if we already have Navarro, who's out with an injury, and then we keep Mihalovic off scoreboard, what are these guys that are creating an XG of, 28th in the MLS do? Yeah, they're a little bit better at home. I don't care. That's fine. Keep him off the scoreboard. However, we've got a leaky defense. I think we're going to let one in regardless. However, I do think that I saw some positives here, and I do think we get a new coach bump regardless, and we're going to get 2 goals. And Jake, that'll definitely be in our underdog play in entry of the week as well. So if you're going to be looking at this, stay tuned for that because we are absolutely taking on, who's their backup goalie's name?
I saw it today, like Steele or Seal.
No, Nick Hansen, something. I don't know what's going on in this. Yeah, you got Nico Hansen. He's been the goalkeeper for them, I think, for the last 2 games. Yeah, he started last game against RSL, but I think he's going to be letting up 2 goals. So we're going to add that to our entry, and we'll definitely do like a Sog or someone for the boys, and that'll be into our ball watching pick for underdog. So if anybody has not already signed up, you need to sign up for underdog using code ball watching. You can make your first deposit and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Play with us. It's available in Missouri. So all these people that if you're trying to like, oh, I can't make it to Illinois or Kansas to make bets, this is not betting. This is fantasy. And this is trying to cash in and make money on your favorite player stats. So sign for underdog using code ball watching. And then Jake, the other thing I'm going to say is it's a beautiful weekend here in St. Louis. I know we're going to have a little bit of rain, but if you're not going all the way out to Colorado, you're not making a trip to the lake, get to the pitch. It's going to be phenomenal. I don't care if it's going to be raining. It's not going to be raining inside the pitch. The only thing that's raining is Mick Ultras when we score 7 goals on Colorado on Saturday.
No, I love it. I want to give my closing statement here, Justin. I want you to give yours too. We've said a lot on the show, and I don't want anyone to think that we're rage mongers because we're definitely not. If you listen to the show, you know that's not true. I, more than anything, just want to see this team succeed. And the hardest part about all this, I don't think it would be meaningfully as hard on this team if I didn't believe that we should be doing better. And it's not because I'm just so biased and I don't see the writing on the wall right in front of us. I see what's in front of us. We see semblances of what could be. We see the players on the roster. We see some guys that are fighting out that really want it. We see moments where you're like, this is what St. Louis City SC is about. And it's just not consistent enough. And I don't think it's crazy to want change at this point. We do not feel like we are on the right trajectory. We've given the time that we can without sacrificing entire, half season for. I think it's the time for change. I think I want the club to be aggressive in here. It's hard because St. Louis is a mid-market team. I don't think they're always going to be the most aggressive team out there in making these changes, and having a coach for a couple months never looks good, regardless of what club that is. But the hard decisions are never easy. So I encourage the club to make those decisions, to be aggressive. And I encourage the fans to be patient. If we make that decision and that we're going down a different path, trust the process, trust the system. I know that trust is hard to win back when it's been lost like this, but we're all here because we love this team. We love this city. We love it, and we believe in what's going on. So keep going. Watch the matches. Take interest. Keep it going. Like, we can help make change around here. I believe it or not, the club listens. So everyone that's doing their thing, keep doing your thing. Try to be obviously constructive about it, right? No one needs to be hearing threats on Twitter or whatnot. But that's why we're here, Justin. Once we spend an hour and 30 minutes, almost longer than the game itself, talking about the state of the club.
Which is something that I always said, Jake, we should never do, because I never want to break down a game longer than the game itself because it's impossible. But to Jake's point, I do want to echo that in the sense that we are guys that are realistic when it's about this club. We'll go with the ups and downs. We'll also just report the news as we see fit and we see it come across. But I do want to remind people that also that when you're getting frustrated with this team and you want to blame the coaches, the players, anything else. It's very important to remember that they're also people. And I would say, and I'm not saying that as a joke, like this is something that if you're going to say it on social media, you should be able to say it directly to their face, and it shouldn't be with anger. It should not be acting like you have no consequences because you're using a burner or anything of those sorts. So I think that this is something that's very important with this club, and I do think that we have very passionate fans, for better or for worse. I think, and this is right now for a darker spot for the club. But I do want to just remind people that these guys are doing the best they can. No one's going out there and trying to do point shaving or gambling that we're aware of, Weston McKennie. But I think for St. Louis City, this is something that the majority of these guys, if I'm going to go ahead and say that everybody loves the city. If you see the interviews, anybody, they appreciate everybody showing out. You'll see it on the Blues, see it on the Cardinals, and they know the fan base is behind them. So please be respectful. That's all that to say. I would say you can definitely vent your frustrations, but don't take it out just unnecessarily, and be respectful and do it in a kind way.
Love it. Good positive messaging in the show, Justin. And it's crazy because this could be the last show that we record under the Olof era. I certainly hope so. Again, and I wish the best for him. I don't wish any ill will on Olof. Wrong place, wrong time. I think wrong person. And I hope we learn from it and we make those decisions. But let the club do what they're supposed to do, what they're paid to do. We'll sit behind them, keep commentating on it from afar. So keep coming here to Ball Watching for all your St. Louis City news, breakdowns, recaps, previews. We do it all, and we post some fun stuff too on social media. So make sure you follow us at Ball Watching STL across Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatnot. And hopefully we don't talk to you too early, but if we hear some news, obviously we'll try to get on here and drop it for all of you as soon as possible. But we'll be back in the next couple of days to break down the upcoming match against Colorado. Hopefully have some brighter and better days ahead. But in the meantime, all for City.
All for City.